Hello, everyone. I'm Mia. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm super stoked to have my friend Valerie with me here. Valerie Arsenault. She has a beautiful apothecary boutique on the Big Island in Hawaii. And she's a medicine maker, holistic health advocate. She's a surfer, so much more. But I wanted to let you, Val, I wanted to let you introduce yourself a little bit and maybe just tell kind of the background of your shop and what you like to do there. And then we'll kind of get into the other thing, all the things.
Meats. Okay. Yeah, so total plant nerd from birth, I think. So always been attracted to nature and identification of plants from a very early age. I grew up back east on a farm and would just go out on my little pony and ride in the woods forever. Back in the day when you could just disappear and not come home till it got dark, you know. So animals, nature, plants. And then fast forward, I had a landscape business, an organic landscape design in Santa Barbara. And so I encouraged my clients, that didn't know anything about it to just kind of go the organic route. And I've always made products and made a lot of my own stuff. And then I started making my own out of necessity. I moved to Portugal I went on a quick little walkabout, I thought, and started surfing and couldn't find organic surf wax. So that was one of the first products I started making. And
So cool.
really just met with the beekeeper. I had a friend that had pine trees. So we went up in the woods and tapped the pine for the sap and kept it really simple. So I had that and then people wanted it. So I started selling it. And then I was like, oh, you start reading ingredients and things. And so I started making
Yeah.
everything that I needed on this little village that I lived in. And so again, I started selling it and then lived there for a few years and just had a little gallery there and moved to the States and had a hard time kind of being readjusting back to the mainland. So I ended up having the opportunity to move here to Big and brought my products with me, a lot of them, and friends were loving it. And said, I got a lot of encouragement, which is key, I think. There's a gazillion skincare lines out there and wellness lines, but I think there's a niche for everyone and within all the healing arts, whether it's massage therapy, even if you just have a few clients, or plant care, skincare, wellness. I don't need to be a global empire. I think just taking care of local, starting there anyways, is kind of my passion. So, and then, again, you start reading ingredients. So it went
Yeah.
from simple granola stuff to makeup and everything. Now I make everything. I haven't been in a drugstore in years. So,
I love
um,
that. Oh my, I
yeah.
didn't, that's so cool. I didn't realize it started with the surf wax. I think that's amazing. Um,
Yeah, it was called Be Cool. It was because it was from bees and the water there is cool. So it's a cool water wax. And then
mhm.
sunblock as well. So before I knew what Reef Safe was, I
Yeah,
wanted just
yeah.
again not the plastic packaging, so it was completely plastic free back in that time, and yeah, and then went
But
from there.
that's so cool because I mean, I love that you've been on this path for such a long time, and like thank you, and thank you to you know the ones out there who really tuned into this early on, because when you were doing it back then, it really, yeah, people weren't really thinking about this stuff. And
Yeah.
people weren't really checking the chemicals. People didn't know that there were harmful chemicals. I mean, now we know, especially here, and public is learning,
Mm-hmm.
especially with RFK right now, that
Yeah.
like there are harmful chemicals in the food and the water, all the
Mm-hmm.
things. So we kind of need to clean up everything. But especially back then, I don't feel like anybody was really tuning into like surf wax, especially, or any kind of beauty
Yeah.
products. It was such a
Mm-hmm. There are
different.
a couple brands, but yeah, not effective and none in Portugal. So we had like literally the first organic surf wax brand that had a website that was online and stuff in Portugal, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that I don't do anymore because there are a few brands here, and it's not, I've got 100 products now that I make still on
So
myself. So
there's so much going on. Yeah, my friend, I don't know if you know Cassia met her, but she's an amazing surfer and she does
yeah,
a really
I don't know her, but I know her name. Uh-huh.
I love her, dear friend, but she makes a really beautiful Palo Santo
Oh,
surf wax. So
nice.
it's
Oh,
cool,
very
but
cool.
yeah, it's expanded so much from them. But even like what you were saying about um just wanting to do something for your community, because I think even with what you've said, that people are now catching on and starting to check labels and everything, that doesn't mean everything is even really as clean as it says it is. So like in the way that
Yes.
something might be called organic, but like I would rather go to the farmer's market and talk to the farmer and find out what they're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things that aren't going through the process, which is super expensive and kind of, a little bit ridiculous to get certified organic, are actually way more high vibe than some of the so-called
Mm-hmm.
organic. So to be able to like go into your shop, or if you sell stuff online, contact you and talk to you about it. I mean, that's really special. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more where we're going. People really want that
I do too.
intimacy, you know?
Yeah, authenticity. I'm obsessed with research and looking at every ingredient and all the side effects, and to the point of like crazy, you know. But a lot of, we're not certified 100% organic because I do add some sciencey things in there and some bioidentical things that are actually can be safer than from the
Mhm.
earth, whether it's mined or, I mean, some things from the planet have lead, and they have metals in it because
Right.
it's been mined and stuff like that. So, I balance it out. And yeah, if I do have a product that I'm working on and then I read anything about it that might have any kind of side effect, especially hormonal disruptors and things like that, and
Yeah.
even some essential oils can interfere if it's overused. So it's just a fine line of, yeah, balance.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You were actually, um, we talked about that the last time we hung out, and I thought that was fascinating. Can you share what you shared with me about the lavender and was it tea tree, I think? That's
Yeah, so some,
interesting.
and you look online, of course, you Google something and they say it's a myth, and then other sites will say it's real. But for me personally, I was just slapping organic lavender essential oil
Mhm.
just straight on my pits and for deodorant, and developed like really serious pain in my that region. And I couldn't think of what I was doing different. I don't wear
Yeah.
regular deodorant now. I use my magnesium spray, which works amazingly. But so I did some research, and they have found that lavender and tea tree, especially used straight, and especially if it's a really good quality brand, it can interrupt hormones a little bit. And they have found that young boys that use it, again, straight, not diluted, which all essential oils should technically be diluted. I was just
Yeah.
being lazy and like, I'm tough, whatever. So I use, now all my products, if they have any essential oil, it's maybe 1%, 1 to 2%. I still think the scent is really important. And that's part of the
Yeah.
healing and the medicine and the enjoyment, hearing the, oh, people come in my store. I love it. But with, yeah, lavender tea tree and with everything, just because something is organic, and rattlesnakes were organic, you don't want to slap
Right.
them in your face and stuff. So, and then, there are brands that tout to be natural, but they'll have just a couple drops of like sunflower seed oil and then a bunch of other
Yep.
crap that you can't pronounce. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's, so we're getting greenwashed a lot. And I really don't want to do that. So if I
Yeah.
learn something even from my own product that I just didn't know before, I'll correct it, and I'm always open to what people have to say in their own experience with something. So,
Yeah.
but so far, knock on wood, it's been 99.999% positive in all my products. So,
No, yeah, your stuff is amazing. And I mean, just the dedication of that and just educating people. Cause yeah, and once you get in using this stuff, it's like you can, there's the next, this is like a next level conversation. Cause it's like, okay, we're people that have, pretty much cleaned up our entire homes as much as we can of chemicals and are really
hmm
conscious. But then it's also to remember, like you said, like these herbs or these medicines are still really powerful too. And we want to be always checking in with our body,
we're going to
make
have
sure.
completely different reactions per person and
Mhm.
different allergies and side effects and stuff. So even with my plant medicine here, I always first thing I say is I can't heal you or give medical advice, but I can share my experience of I've been studying herbs for about 30 or so years. Really not just studying in a book, but smelling and eating and totally messing up my own skin as an experiment. I'm my own guinea pig first. So
Right.
garlic straight on the face wasn't the best idea, or, so I had a lot of rashes just from my own experiments. But of course, I'm not going to use any other animals. So I go myself first, and then my
Mhm.
friends, and then customers that want to have a freebie kind of thing, and they'll get to try it, and then it might go on my website. So That's kind of
Yeah,
the process with that.
I love
So
that.
yeah, and then also, you hear a lot of, and I know that the companies mean well, but you hear chemical free all the time. And there's
Mhm.
literally no such thing as chemical free. Like
Yeah, what is
chemical,
that?
everything except sound, a
Mhm.
smell, and there's even chemicals in the sense, but like everything that has matter is a chemical. We are chemicals, our brains are chemicals. So there's no such
Right.
thing as chemical free in anything, but I know they mean non-toxic chemicals. So
Yeah.
some of the
How?
dialogue,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say
Sorry.
some of the dialogue that we use with the descriptions of products in the markets. You see 100% chemical free or synthetic color free, which is another one. So if it's sold in
Right.
the States, it actually has to be synthetic colors, except for there's
Oh,
micas, but I make sure if I do use mica, it is my fair trade and mined, not by 4 year olds and whatever. So I'm kind of leaning towards, I don't do a ton with micas and things, but I do get a lot of requests for 100% organic makeup. So I
right.
do a few things with that. But actually, colors, iron oxides have to be synthetic, which is like a identically made. But if
Mhm.
they're mined, they're too hard to clear of the arsenic and the lead and the heavy metals that come from
Wow.
the soil. So it's fine to use some things
Yeah.
that are going to be bioidentical or this is from my studies anyways, and people might argue with
Right.
that, but if it's made here in the States and it's got color in it, unless it's plants, you know, because I do use plant colors too, like the
Right.
bioastin and rose petals and hibiscus and
Uh,
stuff like that. But iron oxide will always be synthetic. So
right. That's
a
so
lot
cool.
of little,
Interesting. Yeah.
mhm,
Well, that makes
little
sense because
nuances.
I used to be I guess I would say I don't paint as much anymore, but I went to art school and I was a painter and yeah, I was even aware then because they taught you that a lot of these earth pigments could be toxic, so to be careful with them. So it's kind
Hmm.
of the same thing.
Hmm.
It's so interesting, but we don't I would never have thought about that in relation to makeup. So
Yeah, I didn't
interesting.
know in the beginning. Of course, we only know what we know, and through
Yeah.
years of obsessive research, and anytime I even hear of an ingredient or someone requesting something, I really experimentation is my jam. That's my favorite thing to do. So someone
Yeah.
has a challenge for me. They're like, I love this product, but I can't read the ingredients, what's in it. It's full of probably crap or whatever. I'll see if I can make a similar one without all the fake fragrance and artificial preservatives and things like that. So that's my favorite thing to do, kind of mimic what other people are loving out there on the
Right.
market, but make it up
Its
to my
own
standards
version.
anyways. Yeah.
I think what's special that you also have kind of talked about, and if you would maybe talk about it here, is just how you, because I think this is, again, this is like a next level kind of way of expansive thinking that probably everybody that would be drawn to this is already kind of operating on this level. But to think of things energetically, I mean, it's kind of like if
Mm.
we're charging our water, like we're thinking of Dr.
Hmm.
Emoto and that our consciousness, so that we can program our cells, we can program the water
Yes.
and how you actually have considered that in regard to everything your medicine making, basically.
Yes. It's a interesting faction. So only because I haven't let go of the reins of anyone else making my stuff yet. So I do
Mm-hmm.
have probably a good 100 products if I consider all the colors and different scents of things, and I still make it all myself, and only when I'm in a certain space to do it. So the clientele I tend to attract are those who are very energy sensitive and can really feel it when they spray. For example, I have like my little sea blue mist that I had in case I have a spaz when we're talking or something, but this is one that calms me down. So it does when I add the monatomic gold. I always have
Yes.
like a really good soundtrack on and I'm dancing around the kitchen and I add crystals to it. When I'm stirring it, I bless it and add a pinch of Hawaiian sea salt to my mists. So they're vibrational. They're also, for example, the sea blue has blue tansy in it. This one is probably my favorite and one of my most popular. Myself right now, just so I calm down. And so it balances the brain hemisphere. So it does this stuff kind of chemically to our brain, but also spiritually and kind of emotionally and
And is that,
energetically.
can you talk about the a little bit, because I think it's so cool, and I don't know if everybody's familiar here, a little bit about the monatomic gold that you mentioned, because that's super unique, and that's something I've been aware of for a long time, and just kind of like a little
Mm-hmm.
bit obsessed with, and
Yeah.
I was totally amazed to find out that you were utilizing it in your projects.
Oh,
Products. I think it's so cool.
yeah, sweet. So I just happened to meet a sweet man who worked with an alchemist many years ago, and they formulated the monatomic gold the old-fashioned way with actual gold, breaking it down into a single atom, basically, which is the ingestible form of it. You have heard mana or ormus. A lot of it is made here on the island. They do it from the ocean. They pull it out and separate it, and but this was kind of formulated the old-fashioned way. So I was given basically seeds, and it's kind of like a vinegar mother in a way. So if it's
Mhm.
energetically in a good environment and happy, and there's going to be people that probably argue with this, but I've seen from experience, I was given a small amount, and I've since put it in bigger jars, and I put it around my crystals, and I put it in the sunshine, keep it filled with distilled water all the time, and it literally will grow that ormus on the bottom. And mine is actually crystallized. I was going to bring one here, but I didn't know if the crystals would show up online. But so there's these just different color crystals in the bottom of all this ormus. And so I do use some in it's templated water from that in all of my mists. And that's another thing that I don't know how I would do that mechanically or with a machine, or
Right.
even
It's
allow someone else to do it unless I clone myself or something, like as far as the energetics when I'm making this stuff,
yeah.
it's so important to me. And I did have a hypnosis session a few years ago, and I asked myself about this, if I should be using it, and it was
Mm,
absolutely. So kind of continue. I don't promote the gold as much or sell the gold separately. It's not, I don't want to, make it as a gimmick or some woo woo thing that, but it's special to me, and it's special to people who get it and that feel it literally. And so apparently in some of my lives or parallel lives, I've been a water guardian of springs, and I've used work with this element before. So, and as a surfer, I just love, I spend hours in the shower and the bathtubs and swimming pools when I was a kid, and I'm just a water baby also. So, water is
well,
an important element for sure.
that makes so much sense because the water, I mean, it's the vibrational aspect, and like I was saying, it's like you guys know Dr. Emoto's work, or also there's a
Yes,
who's been even taking that to the next level lately, and she's
yes,
well
it's
known now, but I
amazing.
forget her name, and she's been showing
I
how
have seen that too.
thought forms manifest in the water or frozen water.
Absolutely.
So it's like yeah, what you're doing is like if it's alchemy, and
Hmm.
there are a lot of different kinds of ormus. It's become kind of trendy, but knowing kind of I was in contacts with some people years ago who made it the old fashioned way too, and they were very discreet about what they were
Yeah.
doing. And then I've noticed that a lot of people are calling things monatomic gold, but really it's more of the assault based ornaments, which is also
Hmm.
great,
Hmm.
but it's
Hmm.
not what you're doing. It's different.
Yeah,
And
we've
I
definitely, yeah, we've done experiments with, and the way my partner at the time was working with it was he was hired to help a organic vineyard in California. It was all organic initially, but he was going to dose the wells with the ormus, and we just saw
Mhm.
incredible results with that. So that's kind of how. And health wise, yeah, we were kind of discreet. He had to be discreet because there were, as we know, the health industry and the pharmaceutical industry kind of came after him a bit because we are seeing incredible results with people ingesting it. And he could
you
take blood before and after and see almost immediately the blood, the white blood cells and everything were just activated
are
and lit
changing.
up. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, what's exciting, you guys, too, is like so many people that have been doing this kind of level of work or working with frequency in the past. I mean, a lot of stuff is coming out now that's kind of seeming new, but it's actually they're all ancient, but a lot of it
Ancient,
was
yeah.
suppressed or hidden, or people hid it because otherwise they would be persecuted. Many people were persecuted for using these kind of spirit technologies, like really badly.
Absolutely.
So, but we're now entering into this period where like
Yay!
everybody's
I
coming out of the
know. This is
closet.
right. It's the first time I've come out of the closet in this lifetime, actually. So, as I've expressed to you,
Yes,
this I've never even Zoomed before.
I
I've
love
been
it. Thank you for getting high tech with it. Yeah,
Thank
thank you for
you. Thank you. You just
getting us
reminded me, like,
into it.
what's the big dang deal? And really, tomorrow it'll be yesterday's news. So, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So
But
yeah,
but
it's
what's really cool is like, yeah, like where we're heading now, what we're talking about, like after we've moved to this sort of energy revolution, like this is all going to be known. So like people like
it will.
Valerie are really the ones like ushering in this ancient technology, but we're getting
Hmm.
to a place, we're going to enter this golden age where this is just going to be how we operate and everybody's going to understand this stuff. And I'm getting
Yeah,
chills. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really exciting. But I
Yeah.
thought of something really cool that I would love for you to share about too, because when you were talking about doing that session and you were remembering yourself in that other time, um,
Hmm.
I feel like you told me another story, and I feel like it totally relates to this too, because it was a story where you were remembering how you were working also with frequency, which all of this is working with frequency because everything is frequency.
Hmm.
And you were moving things. Do you know what I'm
I
talking
got the
about? Will you share?
goosebumps again.
Yes,
Every time I hang
okay.
out with you, I get the goosebumps. The goosebumps, as they say in Portugal. Um, yeah, that even blew my practitioner's mind. So the thing about me, and I just figured it was a form of Tourette's, but I'm always singing and humming and probably doing some healing vibrationally within my own body, but I'm just walking around. It might be, I don't think it's a nervous thing. It's just something that's
Oh,
natural to me. So in this particular life, I parallel whatever it is. I have found because I'm a very lucid dreamer. So I looked in a bowl of water to see what I looked like because this was so ancient. There weren't a mirror or anything around. And I was at this time I was a monk, and then I kind of just had the download. I wasn't actually a monk. I was pretending to be, but we were in a sect of people, and we were about 12 of us. And there was an underground chamber where the sound from our own tones would resonate, and we were basically just doing it to practice. We weren't in this particular memory, I don't remember building anything, but we were just keeping this art alive.
yeah.
And we were up on a mountaintop way far away from any civilization, but it required all of us at this time, and this felt like it was only maybe 1,000 years ago, if that, or it wasn't, this didn't feel ancient. It wasn't that long ago, but and I'm sure this is still going on. That's kind of the download I also got, that there are still
Wow.
people that are still doing this.
Mhm.
Individually with our tones and our voice, we could make a seed sprout faster. Like I was still an herbalist then, so I'd go on these walks out in the forest, and I had this pouch, and I would collect things. But we could make things sprout. We could do some healing individually, but when we came together with our resonance of our voice, it was very deep. It was almost guttural, like throat singing. That's kind of what it reminded me of. But together, we had a stone in the middle, and we could lift it. And then yeah, and I think again, part of the fear of me now is we were caught, and I said we're caught with the stones
Right.
in the air, kind of thing. So we were caught and viciously penalized from that moment. But and I have sang in front of people here and there. My mom's a musician and stuff, but I still have a fear of being singing in front of a lot of people, at least without a couple shots of tequila or something. But that is a part of it too. So I think, yeah, when I'm making my potions, I still am singing and
Yeah.
putting all the vibrations into it, the scent, the smell, the sounds, the whole
Mhm.
thing. So
It's so beautiful. Yeah, I still have chills too. Because that's profound, and that's again, it's like we're remembering, or different people like you are
mm-hmm.
remembering, and then being willing to talk about now or step into, because there are all of those memories of being persecuted. Also, yeah, on this in this life it's happened, and then and obviously in these other times. So it's
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful to just, gosh, remember like what we're capable of, the technology that we actually hold,
Yeah,
just
we hold inside of us
energetics.
the tech. Yeah, I mean the
And
technology is soon, and how soon, but we'll be able to do this without all these gadgets and ring lights and all these things. It
exactly.
took me a while to figure out, and we'll just be like, tune in via, oh,
And
hello.
I just want to clarify, like if you guys, I think a lot of you probably understood the layers of what she was talking about, but just if not, um, the pyramids and things like, those stone walls in Peru. I mean, they're all over
Yeah,
the
Olivia.
earth.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see those giant stone walls, and they're giant stones, and they look like
Yeah,
someone took marshmallows and squished them together, because there's no, it
yeah,
doesn't. make sense. It doesn't quite, in the normal paradigm make sense how they were
It
built, but it's
doesn't.
because they were all moved, they were shifted at the molecular structure with
Yeah, they
frequency,
were kind of
sound,
liquefied.
liquefied, and then put
Liquefied. So
together.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So from what I can kind of recall is, yeah, and I know a ton of other people say the same thing. So not just lifted and moved from one place to the other, but literally the molecular structure was changed and softened and then rehardened. And they were using all kinds of interesting materials, including
I mean, gosh.
probably ancient Titan parts, and who knows?
Yes.
But
Who knows? It's
there's
so trippy. But like also like for a moment, let's just realize like the just like what that means. Because if you can do that with sound, what else can you do? I mean,
hmm
there's so much, and it's like the revelation. It's like why, have the powers that I'll say the powers that were not wanted us to understand this stuff. It's like because not only would we understand then how frequency has been used as as weapons forever, but
yes.
also how it could heal because there's like this
hmm
it's just a technology and it can be used to devastating effects to harm, but also to like what we would think of as miracle effects to
Yeah,
heal. So it's just
totally.
so
Total
powerful.
paradigm. Totally. Like fire and water, it can heal us and burn us alive and drown us. And yeah, and I recalled also that one of our secrecy factors was that we knew we would be used as weapons. We would be basically
Right.
so but I do still see the face that I saw, which is kind of my face in a way, but it was very jolly, very jovial and jolly. And I still remember that. I try to hold on to that memory versus the pain and the fire and all the things that came after when we were caught, because that is just one instance of one reality, that who knows, I'm still out there doing my thing with my little huge, actually I had big, huge furry fingers, and I still remember so intensely like a lot of the details. But yeah, we can be um, as we are growing in a collective consciousness of going forward and not being afraid, hence this meeting for me right now. It's exciting to see the acceptance and the it just, even if people are just questioning more, oh
Right.
no, this was all made by slaves. They could lift a block that's as big as this room that came from 500 miles away with just some dudes, that either were slaves or had nothing better to do, just because it was pretty to bury some dude in, which is, of course, one episode of Ancient Aliens will teach you that that's all bull bull caca. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all yeah, we're in such an exciting time. It's all shifting, everything is opening up. And yeah, what
hmm
I was just thinking about yesterday because I was doing some writing kind of um which we could talk about a little bit too. It's like how we're going to shift it's kind of just like the energy revolution. It's like what we're talking about, how we're going to the paradigm's going to shift so much in the next few years. It's like we're going to have like
hmm
equivalents of like 1,000 years of evolution in just a few years, which means like we're going to
Totally.
understand, everybody's going to understand what we're talking about here. Everybody's going
hmm
to understand everything is energy, everything is frequency. And then it's like thinking about how that applies to every aspect of our life. And I was thinking it related to kind of like beauty and the idea of aging, because I was thinking about how, and I wrote about this on Substack, how just like how natural it's been. And I think it's a negative, program that was given to us, but how natural it's been for people to talk negatively about themselves or others, but without even
hmm
realizing it, because they're just saying things like, oh, well, I gotta, do so and so because I'm not going to be young forever. Just how this idea
hmm
of like,
hmm
decline in age has been so deeply programmed into us that you
hmm
know, we hadn't even realized it. And how I think we're gonna like wake up from that. And I mean, not only are we about to have access to these higher technologies, med beds are coming that are going to work at the molecular level too, where all this new tech or old ancient tech that's been hidden
Yeah.
is coming
Yeah.
out, that
Yeah.
and then that everything is going to shift also like in the industry that you're like in a next level, version of like health and wellness and what we're putting on our skin, and you're doing it to the
hmm
degree that like it should be, where everything, we want to be able to, in theory, eat anything we put on our skin because our skin is like just absorbing.
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
how everything is going to shift, and even the way we think about this stuff, because so much has been geared towards, I don't like the term anti-aging,
Yeah,
or
I try not
this,
to use that
yeah,
either.
these like these kind of unnatural ideals, to
Mm-hmm.
stay youthful. But what's interesting is I kind of think, and I'm curious what you think about, as we move into these like this expanded space where we're having access to things like med beds, we're actually like age isn't really going to become a thing, because we're going to be able to choose how
Yeah.
we visually present, because we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to heal ourselves at the molecular structure, and
Yeah.
then just decide how we want to look.
Exactly. Yeah. If we're in
So,
a meeting up on a ship somewhere or in inner Earth and we actually want to present as if we are 10,000 years old, if we end up living that long, whether it's Mia and Val or in the future, we might want to look like that to gain the respect or the have
right.
people understand that. And if I want to go on a hot date and look like I'm 29 and then I can be that for the night or whatever, So
I love
which
it.
I am, by the way.
Well, you look
um,
amazing. Uh,
well, ditto. But and yeah, I do make some kind of things that do help the skin. Again, being a surfer and having put baby oil on my face, which most of my generation did, and being kind of a freckle face girl, I definitely always try to look darker. There was no real in my day, there was no skincare routines when I was a kid or things like that. So that's kind of, and even in the last 10 years, I think, or even 5, younger people are starting to do preventative stuff. But as
right.
with everything, it's gone to the far, far extreme where, um, and bless whatever anyone wants to do or put on their face with the giant lashes and the things and stuff. And if that makes them feel good on it, like, so be it, go for it. I'm
Well,
kind of in the middle, with my products. So they can enhance some things, but you're never going to have the super extreme Kardashian change, catfish kind of change about the face
yeah.
and stuff like that.
I mean, and I love all the things. I love doing all the stuff, and I mean, but also because I think we're gonna move more into space where it's more playful, and we're doing it because we want to like
Should
feel
be.
good and pleasure and adorn
Yeah,
ourselves. And but
totally.
or is like, I think we're gonna understand how to love ourselves more and accept ourselves, but in a way, I feel like it's gonna
Absolutely.
alchemize. That will alchemize us into having also this technology where we also get to choose. So it's like once we give that
Totally.
up, we
Have
get
fun
to
with it.
decide
Mm-hmm.
whatever we want to look like. And also,
Yeah.
I know you tune into a lot of ET energies, and I feel like once everybody is more aware of that and that the veil is fully lifted,
Mm-hmm.
like basically my point, ETs don't really, they're just being who they are. Like other cultures that aren't human aren't judging themselves or their bodies in the same way that we've done, right? I mean, they're just kind of being who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I have from my experience, they still have their own culture, and I have seen
Mhm.
some things that suggest that they have their own aesthetic that they like to
Oh, yeah,
project,
yeah.
at least to what I've seen, to maybe make me more comfortable. For all I know, I could
Right,
be dealing with super scary octopus or things that might freak me out. So in my astral and dream
right.
life, I've only seen humanoid types or very beautiful or attractive, but they have had some decoration and
Wow.
costume and their own culture, at least of the dimension or the level that I've seen. I have, besides the light beings, which are just completely light, and I haven't seen any
Right.
features. But yeah, I have seen so a little bit of decoration,
I
again,
love
and
that.
maybe just because it was my aesthetic and appealed to me and I was comfortable with it. So
But that's so
yeah,
cool. Do you feel comfortable like
yeah.
sharing any of the specifics of like what? Because I mean, I don't think, gosh, I've never even thought about that. What other, yeah, other kind of ET, how they think about adornment or
Mm-hmm.
that's
So
fascinating.
my experience, and again, I've had this stuff since I was a kid, so it's very normal, natural to me. I don't talk about it really ever to anyone, but might as well go for it. We're here. So having seen ships, whether in dreams, in real life that I wasn't sure about, or in the astral. I think most of it is astral for me. I don't know if
Mhm.
my body, although I have woken up with a couple strange little markings that I'm not sure of. But they have included mostly humanoid types of people, like mostly human looking. However, I've seen some feline beings, and they were very regal in their dress. And again, like the one that really stands out to me, I feel like it was a female and she was sitting, and as she was sitting, I still only came to like her waist or something. She's very tall. So I
Mhm.
think they've done a lot to make me comfortable because I'm already out there and woo woo and la la land anyways most of the time. And I have a challenge being here in this, like a lot of us, this third
Yeah.
dimensional get up and go to work and pay bills and all that kind of stuff. So they've made it comfortable for me to be in that and also live in this realm and stuff. So some of the one of the most profound experiences I was taken up, I feel like it was up, and it was more of like a meeting place for a lot of humanoid types. So they were human looking, but
Mhm.
I just didn't feel like they were necessarily all from Earth. And one that stands out, there was a woman, she had a gold plate on her like third eye, maybe
Mhm.
to enhance the third eye. And maybe she was a
Wow.
human from the future or another planet or somewhere else. There was one being that really stood out that was more amphibian looking, and he was just a beautiful amphibian male, and he was communicating with another species, which I thought was really interesting. I think I might have told you about that one.
Yeah, I
And
love
I was
that.
wondering how it all worked, how they could get together and make things work. And because I'm just very curious about those
Well,
things
who
and little
wouldn't
nosy
be?
and stuff. So,
Yeah, fair
right?
enough.
So I'm like
It's
looking up
very
and down,
like
like, how do they get it on?
I love
But
that.
he was much taller, but they were putting their third eyes together, and I just saw this energy come off of them.
Wow.
That was like their way of expression and making love. They didn't have to talk. They didn't have to. So I feel like it was not just, it was pretty amazing. And it stands out. This was some years ago here on the Big Island. When I had kind of called it in the night before, I was just kind of like, hey man, like it's been some time, what's should I just give up on communicating with my family up there? We have these times where we are like, are you listening to me? I'm waiting, is anyone there? And it was kind of one of those moments. So I actually went up and then came back down and then went back to the same exact situation. And it was like a breaking in. So when things do come, which I hope that it's within a short amount of time. There'll be those of us who are more prepared and kind of helping to keep the peace and calm people down and um, just not be. And I'll admit, I was a sailor.
You
It's
mean
like,
you
oh my
mean like
God.
when you mean like when you say keep the peace and keep people calm, you mean you're saying talking about when the veil is more lifted and people can see
Yes,
there's
instead of
other
everyone freaking out and running for the hills. And this is my interpretation of what we were all kind of doing there. It was like a waiting room or a meeting place for us
Mhm.
all to kind of, and maybe it was a ET family of mine or a tribe or friends. We all felt very familiar. There has been other times when I felt very familiar and I don't remember meeting them before, but I would just see ships landing, very tall beings would come out, and it was like, oh, finally you're here, and they would just hug us, and it was like a homecoming or a reunion. And this kind of felt like a reunion, but we were just like, okay, there's that being and there's that being. There was a blue being that led me through this hallway to get to this waiting room,
Mhm.
and I don't remember any specifics about it other than it felt like shades or something could go up and you could see out the windows around the whole thing. But it was very rounded and soft. And I don't remember seeing any fancy technology or anything like that. Just very comfortable and loungy, but very modern and sleek at the same time.
Yeah.
And if it happened again, I hope I won't cuss so much because I was like, and they were kind of laughing, and
I'm sure they thought it was
I'm
so
working on that. Are
I,
you, are you like, yeah. So I hope I'm a little more calm and collected. And but it was very jovial. It was very lighthearted. And I think that's why. And I know a lot of people are going through the same things where we're having little
yeah.
introductions,
Yeah,
whether
it's
it's just
like
a light in the sky that you can't describe or explain, or a
Yeah.
dream. Hmm.
No, there's so much. I'm sure you guys listening here have had your own experiences, but it does really feel like the veil is lifting. And so, I mean, even today, someone shared in my Telegram group, which I'll link below, just some really cool photos of a mothership in front of the sun, like in front of the sun, and you could see kind of like the line. It's really cool.
In front of the
Um,
sun, you said?
like in front of the sun, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
sun, yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
mothership, yeah. And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many more people being able to capture video and images of it.
Hmm.
And these people, I'm just talking about people that I know in real life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
of course tons of stuff on the internet, but there's so much just more being flooding in than ever
Hmm.
before
Yeah,
from just
everyone having a
regular
camera on
people.
them now, and yeah,
Yeah,
just being able to whip it out. And sometimes things show up. Sometimes things show up on the camera that don't show up in
right.
reality in real life. And I've had those moments where I felt something around. And when I lived abroad for there was an apartment that I lived in, and I just felt there was some lingering. It felt good and nice, but I just got my camera out and took some pictures. And in the picture, which I couldn't see with my bare eyes, but there was giant blue orbs with like a face kind of thing in it. I just knew someone was hanging out, and it was
Yeah.
beautiful, but I couldn't see it with my eyeballs. I also may need well, some med beds to fix my eyeballs, which is kind of a relief as we get older. I don't have to see every nook and cranny what's going on. So it's kind of one of those saving grace. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting what technology can capture that our little 10% that we're working with
Yeah.
and our visuals can't see. So, and then
Yeah.
other people see things all the time, which can be distracting as well. So, having seen that stuff
Yeah.
when I was a kid, yeah, I kind of had turned that off. Not as fear so much anymore, but just as it can be distracting. You know, you're having a conversation with
Yeah.
someone and you see some sparkles, and it's like,
What do I focus on?
schizophrenia or something,
Yes.
you know. So which is happening more and more too. I think the veil is lifting. So we're gonna see a lot more, and
Mhm.
it's gonna lead us into more authenticity. And I'm loving that word these days. So when we
Yes.
can really get the true gist of what someone means, which we can if you really tune in, which is with my products as well. If I was totally full of crap and they were also, you would know right away, and you would know when someone's not quite telling you the whole truth, or they're keeping
Yeah.
something from you. And our eyes really do say a lot. And um, yeah, just the energy of a room, which I'm sure you've felt your whole life too, when you walk into a room and you feel good, or you're like, oh, I don't know if I should be here. And
Mhm.
um, which I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are sensitive to, and that is part of why it leads, and for myself included, having a glass of wine to even be able to go out and be around a lot of people, or puff of this or whatever, or just a dilution of that intense empathy that can be so
Yeah.
prevalent.
I do I do little energy kind of protections often. Like I have like a bubble around my land here, which I imagine like a big mirror
Nice.
ball. And then whenever I'm driving, I've done this since we both lived in Santa Barbara actually at the same time, but we didn't know.
Yeah,
And but I
I
started,
know.
I'd imagine like almost like a milky white quartz giant energetic crystal around my car whenever I'm driving and kind of like a
Yeah, good.
protection.
Yeah,
I'll do little clearings if I'm out around a lot of people because I'm a total hermit, but yet I also do events. So I go from being alone in nature a lot to being around tons of people.
yeah,
And I'll
me
do
too.
little just imagining the energy kind of going through my feet back into the earth and doing like a little gold and pink kind of bubble and kind of protection around myself. So I'm just like constantly
Hmm.
a lot of time on it, but
Good.
I'll just kind of like throw it up and make sure it's there. And often when
Yeah, it's a good
I'm
exercise, definitely.
out.
Yeah, I forget sometimes. I do wear like my little obsidian and things like that, but it's a good exercise. I still forget. We've done that more in the shop here. We're in an interesting little neighborhood where we have
Oh yeah.
people walking by,
Yeah.
and not all of them are the same vibration as we necessarily want in the store. So most 90% are amazing. But when we first opened, I wasn't being vigilant about that as much. So now, before we even open, we do a little ritual, and just we have some ruins and some witchy stuff written around, and really it's made a huge difference. And I used to, when I first opened, you know, you do retail and like, oh, nobody's coming in, you know, I'd look out the door and all these people walking by. But now I'm just like, yay, if you're not in the same vibration or not meant to come in, you know, be on your way.
I,
That's
I think
fine.
that's really beautiful just to think about that for any of you guys that do, like I do events, or if you have anything, any public space that's, you know,
Yeah.
you could do this,
Inviting
or
people to come in.
even just our homes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to really remember that we can set the energy, we can set that
Mm-hmm.
kind of protection, and then the intention of, yeah, who we want to magnetize, and also who we just want to allow to not resonate and just to move
Yeah,
along, and so that like
exactly.
the experience is just as harmonious and aligned as it can be. Yeah, I love
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a muscle, you know, and I get lazy, believe me, spiritually lazy as well. And so it's good to just get in the practice and the ritual every day to, um, you know, even when I'm stirring, I drink cacao every morning with all my little potions and stuff just to keep me
Yeah.
somewhat sane. Coffee makes me
Oh,
spazzy.
I
So
have,
what
I
would you
just
say?
I thought, yeah, I just thought of something off the top of my head. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe just as like a closing, if there's any sort of like practice, or not like a ritual, but something that you just with, products or something that we could, do ourselves at home. Is there anything that you might recommend, like that comes through even for just like this moment in time, or just something that you've
Mm-hmm.
always loved,
Mm-hmm.
to share with the audience maybe?
Yeah, honestly, I think again, our bodies are so different, and some people think they can't live without coffee. I love the taste of it, and being in Kona, we have some of the best coffee. But for me, it just makes me a spaz, makes me very jittery and stuff. So I love cacao, and that's kind of my morning ritual. But I think any kind of setting of the day, the tone of the day, and if you can get in the sun, especially as we know now, getting sunlight in our
Mhm.
eyes just helps set our rhythm as often as possible. And I'm not perfect, of course, with it, but just being in gratitude as often. So just as soon as we open our eyes, just like, okay, I woke up, here we are, and being grateful, and then making whatever in the morning that you love, whether it's your water, lemon water, or tea. For me, it's my cacao, and I have all kinds of, I put maca and my mushroom supplements and stuff, and stirring it just like we've always blessed our food, or at least for a
Yeah.
long time now. Before religion came in, we still said thank you and blessings, and it's like very much like Emoto, you know, with the blessing of the water, everything, knowing that everything is energetic, and it's not just water. Well, water is in everything also, but our food and our tea and what we're putting in. And so just a little stir of gratitude. It doesn't have to be some elaborate dance or huge long ritual. And for me, I do everything kind of that way. I can get a little lazy, so I do my own version of yoga. I call it Voga, which is Val yoga, which is just it would make a yogi cry probably, but it works for me. You know, I do my things, and I drink my things, and I eat well most of the time. But I think letting ourselves be human as well, and doing as much of what we can that brings us joy and pleasure, while also honoring the temple. And I do things not necessarily to live longer. I want to live better and feel good while I'm here. But honestly, if I got shit falling off at next year, something's really hurting or whatever, like, honestly, I don't have a huge connection to how long I live just to prove something. But it's living, having as much fun really as possible.
Yes.
So I came here for that. I think we've had a lot of lifetimes where it wasn't so fun. And so
Yes.
I keep reminding myself not to take things too seriously. I try to say that every day, just like when I was setting up my little cameras here and lights and stuff, just don't take it so seriously, and remind myself that with every situation, some things
Totally.
seem so serious, and really, I hate to say it, but we're all going to die. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're all going to transition possibly out of this expression to another, and might as well really, if we're not enjoying it, to me, there's kind of no point. I'm
Yeah.
not just here to continue to work. If people want to learn from me, that's awesome, and I'm happy to answer anything or what from my experience. But um, I'm not necessarily here to martyr myself again, just and the most authentic thing to me in this world is being in nature and going out. And that everything being kind of weird and elusive and possibly a hologram, who knows? Being in nature with all the smells and the sounds and being in the water, especially in the ocean, that's the most authentic, real thing to me. So if going out and having fun and
Yes.
doing, and as we know, it's redundant, but as we know, doing what we love is the universe and is spirit calling to be our highest best selves. And once you do that, all the other things kind of fall into
Yeah.
place. I have to remind myself of that as often as possible
I think
because
I
I don't
think that
always remember,
I
but
think that's the medicine we need every day because and probably all of us here, you guys listening to this know that too. But do you practice it every day? It's like
mm-hmm,
let's just remind ourselves of that every day because it is the most important, especially at this time. That was what part of the vision I had years ago about this time was like it's all happening. Everything you're wishing for has already been completed. The light has already won.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
the best thing you can do is to cultivate joy and that frequency. And I was like,
Absolutely. Yep.
but I
And
felt
it's
it. Yeah.
contagious. Yeah, it's contagious too. And I mean, even you and I finding each other, we have so many things in common. We lived in the same places at the same time.
Yep.
Um,
Synchronicity.
I kind of stalked you. I found you on another channel, like, oh, she's on Big. And so just meeting across the miles and you'll attract, as I say, your vibe attracts your tribe or your tribe attracts your vibe or whatever that is, So
Really.
being your authentic self, and we're all so different. So we're not meant to eat the same things, think the same way. Um, and that goes for every expression, every human that walks by. And if they're on whatever drugs they're on, that's their experience. And who am I to judge it other than just observe and keep them out of my store? But um, so
We're all our own.
really, yeah, again, just live in as much lightheartedness as possible, and our childlike selves, kind of talk to that little girl that's still within us, or little boy, or and yeah, just lighten up and yeah,
Yes.
follow the bliss, as they say. It's redundant
Yes.
cliche, but it's very true. So
Yes. I totally agree.
yeah,
Thank you so much for
thank
coming on. It
you.
was so great to do this, and
Yeah,
we'll have to have more
thank
chat.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
I
this.
will everybody, I will share Valerie's links below for her shop on Big Island. And thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And
You
thank you.
as well. Such a pleasure. We'll see you again soon, my dear. Okay, bye.